Lazarus was the first Primaris Marine to join the Inner Circle, and he acts as the captain of the Dark Angel's 5th Company. He has been known for his unique helm that protects him and many others near him from evil and psychic powers. I'm Spoons Rattling, hello, and we are covering Captain Lazarus. He comes in at 70 points, so 10 points cheaper than a captain, which isn't necessarily the best sign. In terms of stats, he has very standard stats for a Space Marine character. He moves 6 inches, toughness 4, 3+ save, invulnerable save of 4+, 5 wounds, leadership 6+, and OC 1. This is, again, fairly standard for a Space Marine character, and not particularly standout in any way, though not necessarily bad either. Would be nice if he had a 2+ save, though. In terms of ranged weapons, he just has a bolt pistol, which is one attack that hits on 2s at 12-inch range with strength 4, AP 0, and damage 1. Strange that it's not master crafted, though. In terms of melee weapons, he has Enmity's Edge, which is anti-psyker 2+, 6 attacks that hit on 2s at strength 6, AP 3, and damage 2. In terms of abilities, Intractable Will, while he's leading a unit, when they models die, they can, on a 4+ fight before they're removed from battle, which is some nice insurance against getting charged. And then his other ability is the Spirit Shield Helm, where Lazarus himself only has a 3+ feel no pain against mortal wounds and psychic attacks. This is a good durability buff, but if he's on his own, he's not going to last very long, regardless of whether or not he's resistant to these. It would be nice if he gave this to his whole unit. That would make him a very interesting model for durability's sake. However, overall, he's fairly standard for a Space Marine character. Enmity's Edge is worse than most captain weapons, though the AP 3 is a nice touch, though the low to mid strength doesn't help with the lack of lethal hits or something along those lines. Anti-Psyker 2+ does have some niche interactions that makes it very effective against certain enemies, though of course that won't apply in every single game because you're not always going to be fighting Psykers. There is of course benefit to having this sort of specialized melee, however it isn't general purpose, and isn't that much better than a standard power sword outside of the extra AP. It would be nice if he had lethal hits, though I guess you could attach a lieutenant if you desired, but that would be making a rather large investment unit when I think it would be better to swap Lazarus out for a normal captain. It is also strange that he only has a bolt pistol. I feel like that should at least be master crafted. While it wouldn't make a huge difference, it would at least give him the off chance to pop a enemy Space Marine, and would make it more effective against things like knobs. Overall, his damage output is fairly tame. For an epic hero, it really is kind of pathetic, honestly. But he does still have some uses. In terms of what he can lead just about anything in Tacticus armor, which does give him a lot of options, and he does have the Deathwing keyword, which means he can give that to a unit he leads, though Azrael also does this, as does Ezekiel, and I'd say both of them are much better. As I mentioned already, his melee is fairly mediocre for a Space Marine character. It really isn't that much better than, say, a Lieutenant's, spare for the extra AP, though again, Anti-Psyker does have some niche interactions against things like Chaos Knight Abominants, though this also has the side effect of Ezekiel doing that much better while also buffing his squad's damage, which is another problem with Lazarus. While Fightin' in Death is good, only on a 4+ with no way to improve it isn't great, and can be accessed better in certain detachments like Inner Circle Task Force, or, that might be the only one actually. Maybe I was undervaluing his Fights in Death, but regardless, it's only a coin flip chance, and it's not like Lazarus himself is bringing that much threat to the table. Comparing him to, again, someone like, say, Ezekiel or Asmodai, they add a lot more direct damage to their unit, and also don't need to have their unit be depleted to use their own abilities, which makes this guy just sort of weird. He falls into a similar place to Belial. I'm not saying he's as bad as Belial, because he is not as bad as Belial, but he's not that far off. Comparing him to the other Tacticus armor, so non-Terminator units for Deathwing, I'd say he's probably the worst. So, Azrael is obviously better. Ezekiel is, while still a niche unit, I'd say a much better niche unit, because he's a lot more powerful in his niche. Asmodai is a solid unit all around, with his reroll hits pairing really well with the Inner Circle companions. And, is that everyone? I believe that's everyone that isn't in Terminator armor. And even then, I said before, he compares very poorly to a standard captain, as he's an epic hero, which means he can't get enhancements, and you can't use multiple of them. Not that you would want to, but still, it's worth mentioning. The biggest thing is, though, is the enhancements. And because of that, there is no way for him to give a damage buff to his unit, because none of his abilities buff damage, and he can't take enhancements. overall, he's very niche. As I said, not as bad as Belial, but he's not that far off. I'd rank him and Belial as the weakest non-flyer data sheets we have. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.